Vegas Nation Gameday Live, sponsored by South Point Sportsbook. Download the app at southpointsports.com.
Game day. Welcome to Vegas Nation Gameday Live. Leandre Fox here, filling in for Cassie Soto. She will be back next week. But joining me in the Las Vegas Review-Journal studio, fresh off the promotion, sports columnist Sam Gordon. Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Dre. How you doing?
Sam, the Raiders, they're in the playoffs, man.
Yeah, they are.
They're in the playoffs, man.
Yes,
this
they
is
are.
A big moment for the first time since 2016.
Yep.
Second time since 2002.
Yep.
The Raiders are in the postseason. This is the moment they've been waiting for. This is what they fought for, Sam, through a roller coaster of a season, man.
Yeah.
How'd they get here?
Geez, that's $1 million question, Jay, right? It doesn't, in some ways, it doesn't make any sense with everything that they've dealt with off the field and on the field, of course, throughout the course of the season. We know what happened with John Gruden, with Henry Ruggs, and then the losing 5 out of 6 in November, early December. But lo and behold, they have enough resolve. They have rallied around Rich Bisaccia and the leaders in that locker room, Derek Carr, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, Max Crosby, et cetera, et cetera. So many guys on that team responsible. And this team has showed an unbelievable moxie at the end of the year, winning 4 games that they all had to have, all down to the wire, close victories, winning each by a field goal. So here they are, 10-7. It wasn't pretty by any means, but defensively, I think they've been much better the last month of the season, and then very opportunistic on offense too. Derek Carr making plays, getting that running game going with Josh Jacobs again. And yeah, it's a great matchup today with the Bengals, a team that they played relatively close in November. Of course, the final score got away from it in the fourth quarter, but it was close all the way through 3+ quarters. So we should see what happens today when it unfolds.
Well, you mentioned Derek Carr earlier. He led the team to the 2016 postseason, but he could not play. He suffered that injury, that fibula breaking.
Yeah.
Now he gets to play in the postseason for the first time in his 8-year career, and we've heard this debate all season long. Sam. Is Derek Carr elite? Is he not? How big of a statement can he make in today's game?
I think massive, Jay, because when you look at the Cincinnati Bengals and what they bring to the table, they have a quarterback in Joe Burrow, one of the top young quarterbacks in the NFL, making his playoff debut too. So if Derek Carr can find a way to go into Paul Brown Stadium and outplay him, I mean, I think that'd make a huge statement about his standing in the NFL. I mean, let's take a look. Since he's came into the NFL 2014, a revolving door of head coaches, of coordinators, of teammates and whatnot, and he has been the one stabilizer of this franchise. I think he's had a very good season when you consider what happened around him, and it's a big opportunity for him to make a statement about his standing in the place among NFL quarterbacks. Same can be said about Joe Burrow too, and I think that's one of the reasons this matchup is so fascinating, both quarterbacks making their playoff debuts.
Well, on top of all of that, we have interim head coach Rich Bisaccia, who took over the spotlight in October amid John Gruden's email scandals. What does this accomplishment, getting to the playoffs with the Raiders, what does this mean for him? And if they win today, does he get in the contention of officially being the head coach for the team next season?
I mean, I think he would have to, Dre, because if you take a look at the timeline the Raiders were on when they hired Gruden a few years ago, what the expectations were. Mike Mayock said before the season the expectations were playoffs, and he's delivered on that. He's delivered exactly what the franchise, from ownership to general management, expected, and it's clear this team has rallied around him. 4 straight wins in money time that they all had to have, and we've heard all kinds of endorsements from the leaders inside that locker room. Max Crosby, Darren Waller, Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs with a big-time endorsement of him after the Sunday Night Football game. So these guys love playing for him, and he has a way of galvanizing them at the right time of the year. So if the Raiders can win this game today, I think he makes a huge case. He has an incredible case to keep this job full-time. Of course, nothing guaranteed. I still expect some kind of coaching search, but regardless of win or loss, I think he should be a candidate.
Well, you mentioned winning this game, and the key to winning this game is the Raiders team getting healthy at the right time. We're seeing some key players return. Tight end Darren Waller, running back Josh Jacobs. They're dealing with injuries, but they're here and they're getting ready. Who are some of these teams? These players have been banged up all season. How can they contribute today?
Yeah, I think when you take a look at Darren Waller, we know, Dre, on Sunday, that was his first game in about a month and a half, and there was some rust there. The timing wasn't all the way there with Derek Carr, but with the week of practice, with an opportunity to get his legs back under him, I do expect him to be more a part of the game plan today against the Bengals defense that's vulnerable against the pass. Very good rushing defense, very vulnerable against the pass, especially in those intermediate levels. So I think you're going to see him work that middle of the field and have, at the very least, a chance to open things up for other guys around him. I think you mentioned Josh Jacobs. The rib injuries hasn't seemed to bother him. He's over 102 of the last 3 games, and I think the ground game is going to be a big part of what the Raiders do today as well. Of course, Darius Philon, massive part of that run defense. He's out for the rest of the season with the torn pectoral. Jonathan Hankins questionable, but I still think there's enough depth on that defensive line to get to Joe Burrow and to bottle up Joe Mixon if everybody is locked in and coming to play.
Well, this is a huge moment, as we've said. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Raiders on the way to the airport. The Vegas support. We have Metro officers and firefighters lining the streets near that fabulous to Las Vegas a welcome sign, and they're sending the team off to Cincinnati. Our Vegas Nation crew is also in Cincinnati, rolling deep out there in the jungle, out there in that cold weather. So let's go ahead and send it out to Heidi Fang right now.
Here we are in Cincinnati. It's Heidi Fang, Ed Graney, and Adam Hill. And yep, there is a little bit of inclement weather out here. It's not snowing or anything yet, but Ed, what kind of impact do you think, if any, this might have on the Raiders today?
Well, we know what Derek Carr does in cold weather, and it's not usually good. Like you said, it's not snowing. We don't know if it's going to. Snow doesn't, I don't think, bother people as much as rain and wind. So if the rain and wind would ever come, I think that would bother them more. I'm not so sure it would bother them as much with the snow. But again, Derek Carr has to prove he can play in cold weather. He hasn't done that yet. And again, it's a lot about the entire team. Everyone always puts that on Derek Carr, but I think the entire team's got to respond to the weather today.
And in doing that, they're going to have a test here against a very potent offense. We already know about what Joe Burrow and company can do. But another stat that I looked up is that he's also the most sacked quarterback that there is right now. So when you think about this Raiders defense and the ability it has to penetrate, what do you think the performance could be against this Bengals offense and how it might disrupt it?
I mean, it better be. Max Crosby's an all-pro for a reason. The defensive line's been really good throughout this 4-game winning streak, so they have to get after Joe Burrow again today. A lot of people don't remember. Adam talked to me about this yesterday. This was a close game at Allegiant Stadium in the fourth quarter. Then Burrow hits Jamar Chase. Joe Mixon kind of goes a little crazy. They kick a field goal. So if the Raiders look back to that first 2-3 quarters, they played them very tight. They've got to get back to whatever they were doing then and compete here today.
A lot of people are saying that time of possession, the ability to control the game on the ground is going to be key. Who would you put your money on, Ed? Would it be Mixon or Josh Jacobs to really kind of keep that going for either offense?
I mean, I think I'd put it on Joe Mixon. The way he played against the Raiders the last time, he's home here. He's a very good running back. He was in COVID protocol last week, but he came out of it. So I think I have to say Joe Mixon in that sense. Josh Jacobs has been potentially better over these last 4 games, but I have to go with Joe Mixon in that sense.
And who do you think is going to be the very big key player for the Bengals in this one today?
Has to be Joe Burrow, right? I mean, he's been playing really well lately. He wasn't 100% the last time at Allegiant Stadium. I think he's 100% now. We've seen the yards he's thrown for in the last several weeks. It's all about the quarterbacks today, like it always is in these type of games. It's Joe Burrow against Derek Carr, so I think for the Bengals, it's Joe Burrow.
All right, and now to you, Adam. We got to talk a little bit here about the numbers. The betting odds are out. Westgate Sportsbook has it up right now as Raiders +6, but I'm also seeing it to +5.5. What do you make of the spread?
Yeah, there's been a lot of money actually coming in on the Raiders. Some really sharp money throughout the week has come in on the Raiders. So I think a lot of people are looking at that game, as Ed talked about, very close to the end of the fourth quarter. It wasn't a blowout. On paper, it might have looked that way, but it really wasn't. So I think people are taking a look at that, taking a look at the way the Raiders have played the last couple of weeks, in particular the offensive line showing improvement, being able to run the ball. That's going to be key today. You guys were talking about the weather. Yeah, it's cold. That really doesn't impact things. It's the wind, though, and it is about 12 miles an hour right now. If I'm going to, get out my wind measuring instrument, actually it was my phone. So you can know right now it's about 12 miles an hour. If it doesn't get much worse than this, it should be okay. But definitely take a look at the wind and see if that impacts anything in the game.
All right, how about the total on points? What do you make of that? Do you think it'll hit in this type of weather today? Because sometimes when it's colder, or if it starts raining or something, that could have an impact on that.
Yeah, for sure. And the wind definitely would have an impact on that. If it kicks up a little bit, definitely keeping things under control in the passing game a little bit. But I think both teams really want to run the ball today. I think they both want to establish the line of scrimmage, run the ball. The Raiders want to run the ball so they can set up their pass. The Bengals do as well, but I think the Bengals are more willing to run the ball consistently in the game if it's working. So running the ball keeps the clock running a lot, and that is conducive to unders for the most part. So I would maybe take a look in that direction. But again, you've got to be a little bit careful because that Bengals offense can get explosive at times if Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are working at a high level, which we really didn't see in the first meeting. A lot of Brandon Faison actually covering Jamar Chase and shutting him down. As long as they can keep that under control, the game should probably stay under.
All right, there you have it from Adam Hill, Ed Graney. I'm Heidi Fang. Now let's take a look at my interview I got earlier in the week with Raiders kicker Daniel Carlson, who's become the 4-time AFC Player of the Week award winner, and that is a record since this honor got put out. So let's hear now from Daniel Carlson and what it was like to kick the game winner in overtime against the Chargers.
We weren't sure how aggressive we were going to be and stuff. And so then, the offense set it up where we're able to get in field goal range last seconds. And, everybody did a great job throughout the game to give us a chance to win it there at the end. So it's an awesome feeling kicking it in and get to celebrate, and knowing we have a good shot at playoffs, and what's ahead for us.
The journey itself, what's that felt like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's had some ups and downs for sure, but I think that's what makes it so special. It has been a bit of a roller coaster, but the tough times kind of make the good times that much better sometimes. And so I've been very fortunate and blessed throughout my career to, be able to be on a couple different teams, a couple different cities, and now here in Vegas as we're headed into the playoffs. It's an unbelievable experience and feeling, because we've worked really hard. I've worked really hard the last few years to have a shot at a game like this on Saturday. So we're all really excited for that. One of the goals was to get to playoffs, but that's not where we wanted to end. So everybody's really focused on, hey, we're trying to go 1-0 this week. We're trying to take one game at a time. And none of the records, none of what happened in the past really matters at this point. It's about Saturday's game. That's all that matters at this point. And so I think guys are completely locked in. Like I said, we're a team that cares about each other, and we're going to compete with relentless effort throughout the entirety of a game, maybe overtime if we have to. So, it's been really awesome to see, how we've all handled adversity, which there's been plenty of this season, and how we've responded. And I think that's going to help us going into this game and this playoff run.
Have you heard people calling you the Iceman, and what do you think of that nickname?
Yes. I've gotten a couple nicknames throughout the years and stuff. So it's not a bad one. Definitely, a good one, especially when, the game's on the line or something, kind of have that icing veins. So it's all good and fun.
Welcome back to the Las Vegas Review-Journal studio. Before we get some more thoughts on the game, let's go ahead and get a look at some social media playoff edition. By now, we all know that the Raiders and Chargers both could have gotten into the postseason with a tie, but the silver and black claiming victory allowed the Steelers to get in, and Pittsburgh was gracious, donating to charity here in Southern Nevada, and even local fans thanking their Raider neighbor.
I really got the best neighbors. We got y'all. Yes, sir.
And it looks like the Raiders have their eyes on the prize. It goes down in the DMs. Raiders post with the Photoshop. The Raiders shooting a hey big head to the Lombardi Trophy. It's been a while, but you can't stop true love from finding its way back. And we talked about it earlier, but Derek Carr, a stabilizing force of the franchise, making his first postseason appearance after missing the 2016 playoffs due to injury. This is what sports is all about. Moments like these. The Raiders and Derek Carr have fought their way back to the playoffs. Dre and Sam back here in the Las Vegas Review-Journal studio. Sam, we've talked about it all show long. This is an emotional game.
Yeah.
What are your keys for victory? How do the Raiders get out of Cincinnati with a victory and continue on in the playoffs?
Biggest thing I'm watching, Dre, is that matchup in the trenches. This is an offensive line in Cincinnati that allowed Joe Burrow to get sacked more than 50 times. No quarterback was sacked more than Joe Burrow. And when you take a look at what the Raiders have been able to do on the defensive line the last 4 games, they've been brilliant at affecting the quarterback. Max Crosby, Unique Ngakoue, of course, the depth that you have at defensive tackle. If they can get to Joe Burrow and make him uncomfortable, maybe force him into a turnover or two, as good as he is, kind of a gunslinger. He will throw that rock down the field, and there are going to be opportunities. There could be opportunities for the Raiders to make plays. I think offensively, take care of the football. No turnovers Sunday against the Chargers, Jay. That was huge. The Raiders have been turning the ball over pretty regularly. They played a clean football game against the Chargers on Sunday, and then minimize the penalties. The first time these teams played, the Raiders had 7 penalties for 77 yards, many of them in key spots. They only converted 1 third down. You don't have to play a perfect football game per se and execute perfectly, but you can't have goofy penalties and you can't turn the ball over. So if the Raiders can do those things and make Joe Burrow uncomfortable, I think it's going to be a close game. And they, as you know, we saw the Iceman there, they know how to win close games. Yeah. So if they can keep this thing close, I like their chances, but you don't want to get in a track meet because Joe Burrow's got 2,000-yard receivers and a 1,000-yard back. It's as explosive as an offense as any in the NFL.
All right, well, that will do it for this week's edition of Vegas Nation Game Day Live. For more Raiders coverage, be sure to check out VegasNation.com or download that Vegas Nation app for our entire Vegas Nation crew. I'm Leandre Fox. He's Sam Gordon. Thank you so much for watching.
Vegas Nation Game Day Live, sponsored by South Point Sportsbook. Download the app at southpointsports.com.